The following podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. While we aim to provide helpful insights, listeners and viewers should seek their own independent legal advice for specific issues or concerns. Neither the host nor any guests can be held legally responsible for any decisions or actions taken based on the content of this podcast.
Hello, welcome to the Housing Sector Podcast. One day last week, I get people to say, oh, you need to speak to this person. And one day last week, I got two messages within an hour of each other saying, you need to speak to this lady. And a link was found, and I found this lady on LinkedIn, and she's now talking today. Amber, you are a big hero of mine.
Hello.
How are you? All right?
Yeah, all good today, thank you.
Okay, now Amber, you said you'd had enough paying for a service charge for a service you weren't, like so many, you're paying for a service charge that you're just not receiving the service for.
Yeah.
What did you do about it?
So essentially, I moved into my flat. I'm still living here in the Green Hive area in December 2021. My service charges, I was a little disappointed as well because I think being a previous law student, I really made sure I looked into everything when buying the flat. I thought I'll be really careful. I'll make sure I don't buy one with charges that look too high. They're about $1,800 a year. So not super cheap, but not, extortionately high. And then within the space of a couple of years, they went up to about $2,500 a year. And then I started getting these extra sort of Section 20 notices coming in. I think one was for £300, and it explicitly says on the back of my service charge notice, if any major works are to be carried out that cost over £250 for the service charge year, leaseholders are supposed to be notified, and you're allowed to sort of contest it if you wish, but there wasn't any notification of that. So the charges were the main thing, but then when I started looking around at what I could potentially do, I realised that no fire safety checks had been done in my building, which likely invalidated the building's insurance, aside from being really dangerous, especially in a post-Grenfell era. So yeah, the service was not good. I had a broken front door for about 6 months, just calling every day, nobody coming out to fix it. So essentially what I did, got to give some credit to my dad, actually. I was just so distressed by the situation because it was my first time buy. I'd sort of put all of the money that I could into this flat. And my dad found Right to Manage online, and he said, you need to look into this, sort of have a look, see what you think. And it looked to be the only option to potentially get out of it. And at first I felt quite overwhelmed. I've had a lot of people contacting me in the last few days, sort of saying the exact same things I was. Like, I feel very alone in this. I feel very overwhelmed, and it's heartbreaking, really. But I think it's nice now that I can go out and tell people, well, I've done this. It's a few month process that it takes around 5 to 6 months. So it's a little bit long, but when you've been in this situation for however many years, it's not too long to wait, really, if there is a way out of the situation. And it seems like the only thing you can really do, because I looked into taking first support to tribunal, sort of called the property ombudsman for advice, and there just didn't seem to be much success around those things. And as an individual, that's quite daunting.
It is very daunting, and so many of us are paying for services we just don't receive, and
Yeah.
fire safety has a big impact on that. So it was first port. Is it a block of flats, or is it just you? Did you have to get everyone else involved, or were you able to do it on your own?
So initially, when I first looked into it, I thought the entire estate did the Right to Manage together. But after sort of learning, I've learnt the process now, which is why I'm trying to help others. So what I did is I went and I posted flyers, because you have to get half of the people in your building, so in your specific block, and mine is a block of 12, you need to get half the people to be on board to do a Right to Manage. And I think the main obstacle here is a lot of flats are rented out, so people find it difficult to get in touch with the actual owners of the flats. But I managed to by posting flyers, knocking on doors, saying, "Please, can you pass my number onto your landlord?" And yeah, just trying to get in contact with the owners any way I can. But initially, I posted flyers, and this is how I started trying to help other people, because I posted flyers to 52 flats. Because on my management bill that I used to get from First Port, and then they transitioned over to Living City a couple of months before I actually got the right to manage, the situation was exactly the same with both. But yeah, the charges are broken down by internal and external charges. So I looked at the external charges, which covered the whole estate, and then the internal charges covered my block of 12. So I posted flyers to everybody, trying to get everybody involved and on board. And a lot of people reached out to me. And then when I actually looked into it properly, I thought, oh, we need to do this on a block by block basis. So I only need 6 people in my block to agree to it, which luckily was not too difficult. But then I didn't want to leave my neighbours that really wanted to do the same thing in this situation. So I got mine done first. And then I started by helping my neighbours, a block of 6 that are next to me. Their claim got admitted the other day. I helped them through the process of doing theirs. So they've got the right to manage now as well. There's a few people. So there's like 5 or so blocks on my estate. There's a few people in each one where we just see sort of one more person. So we need to get in contact with an owner and then help them do the same. But yeah, I think another block, actually, we've now got enough people and they want to do it as well. So yeah, that's initially how I started helping other people.
I want to come on to some of the process, because I think that's really important, and the money that obviously you're going to be saving, and how you're now going to manage your block. But just to take it back a couple of steps, you're actually, we've got a housing ombudsman, we've got all these things that we can go to, but there doesn't seem to be anything. I mean, and I've been through the housing ombudsman, we've all got compensation. Nothing was fixed, nothing's changed. Do you think these housing associations and the likes of First Port, these building management companies, do you think they get away with it because they can, or do you think they just can't do it?
I think it's a combination of things, really. I think a big part of it is getting away with it because they can. Because like I said, even when I started the process myself, it is quite daunting. But the main issue is the transparency of like invoices and documentation. So they had to provide me with a buildings insurance quote, an invoice, so that I could do my remortgage. And that's when I first saw that just did not add up to what we were paying for at all. And I queried this over with email after email, I think, for about 2 years. And I think the stress that it causes and the lack of response and not being able to do anything about that. I was offered a £250 gratuity voucher after 3 years for my troubles.
Yeah. Here's some shopping vouchers. Yeah.
Yeah, so the fire safety didn't get done in that time either. There was no reimbursement for that. I think partly it's, they get away with it because they can, because people, when they're going about their everyday lives, they don't know what their rights are. They don't necessarily know about the right to manage or how to get out of it, which is a completely normal situation. And also, you are just banging your head against a wall. Like, you're just requesting these documentations and these invoices. You can't, and you just don't get a response. Like, they don't pick up the phone, you can't get through to someone, or they say they're going to come and fix something and they don't. But there's no recourse. And I think the stress of it just gets too much for people. Like, I've been speaking to people that are in just their mental state from it is so bad, they just cannot carry on anymore. So they just end up accepting the situation because there's just other life stuff going on.
I've found so many people that have taken that and then they can't deal with it anymore, and it is too stressful for them.
Yeah.
And then there's people like you and me that go, no, I can't let this go now. I found with the Section 20, because my landlord, Green Square Accord, because they underestimated. So at the end of halfway through the year, they said, you need to pay some more money. But when you added that money, then it breached the Section 20 £250 threshold. So they were trying to sneak expenses through that way. Then there was
Yeah.
mistakes in their maths. Then they were late with a Section 22. And you just think, and there's a fire risk assessment that I've asked for 7 days, no response. They haven't sent it out. And you just think, we're still paying you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
know.
okay.
You're paying for all of this. I do think it is a question of incompetence as well on a level. I think I remember, I remember one of my emails. I really question the veracity of your accounts because things are just not adding up. And I think because there's so many changeovers of property managers, in fairness, I did feel for the property managers because I think they're just getting bombarded with like unhappy residents' emails and things. I think there's so much changeover. A lot of the documentation just isn't even there. Like it's not even that they're not handing it over necessarily. I think a lot of stuff just hasn't been done over such a period of time. It's been passed from managing agent to managing agent to employee, and it's just not even available.
It's all built on the back of out-of-date Excel spreadsheets. And Sheila used to do
Yeah.
it. Sheila left, and no one knows who does it now. And Philip now does it,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have access to what Sheila used to do. And we seem to get a regular recharge of about 15%. Why? Well, that's because we've always done it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so look, we know that service charge is it's making affordable housing unaffordable. We're paying for services we're not getting. That's all in the past for you. So you woke up and you said, right, I'm going, your dad said, right to manage. What do you have to do to be able to do that? And I'm aware we're against the clock here. So if for other people, what is the right to manage? Let's start with that.
So essentially, it's a legal right that leaseholders can get to manage their own property. So you take that over from the freeholder. So essentially, you need to get half of the people. It's done on a block by block basis. Sometimes you have a situation where there's two blocks. It's sort of building by building basis. You have two blocks that are joined in some way. So it's not always entirely clear. It's good to have a look at sort of the premises outlined in the lease and things like that. You need to get half the people basically in your block of flats to agree to it. One person has to be a director. So an RTM company gets set up on Companies House. It's a company limited by guarantee. You have one director of that who generally gets to make the decisions on who the managing agent is. And then the other half of people are members. And then a participation notice gets sent out to the other people that haven't already elected themselves as members. They have a couple of weeks to respond to that and say whether or not they wish to join the company. If it's successful, the whole block moves over to the new managing agent or whatever the new managing situation will be anyway. And then after that, a claim notice gets sent out to the freeholder. So they can either admit that or they can contest it, which is generally if the company's not been set up correctly or the building didn't qualify, because there's some qualifying criteria. Or for example, if the leaseholders don't qualify, like say the wrong names have been put on the notices or something like that. But generally they admit the claim. They admitted mine, and then they admitted my neighbour's one recently. So they have a month to respond to that. If they don't respond at all, then the claim just gets submitted. And then you generally have like a few month kind of period before you actually acquire the right to manage. So there's a set date and it says in the notice, right to manage will be acquired on X date, which is usually a few months after that month's notice time is up. And yeah, you can use that time to sort of go out and either find a new managing agent. I suppose some people in smaller blocks might actually say, do you know what, we want to just manage the property ourselves. Like we can find our own contractors. In my situation, I'd much rather have used the managing agent because luckily we'd come across a good one in that time that this tender process was going on. And you need to make sure the property's managed in accordance with the terms of the lease. And it's just, I suppose, when you've got a full-time job and potentially a family or whatever people have got going on, it's easier to hand over to a managing agent on some levels. But some people might want to just do the management themselves. And if you're not happy with the situation, or for example, the director or all the directors resign, the right to manage can be given back to the freeholder. So you can technically revert back to the situation you were in before. I don't see any situation where that would be the case. But funnily enough, I actually found that reassuring when I started, because it's just that human nature thing, isn't it? Like, something permanent in your mind can be scary. You're like, oh, okay, well, we could always go back, even if
we can't do any worse. Cannot do any worse.
Exactly.
So when we're talking about the management agent, so you're now, are you the director?
Yes, I'm a director, but I spoke to the other people that I managed to get in contact with, and I think there's over 4 or 5 of us that are directors in my block. I said, do you know what, for the continuity of the right to manage company, because I was looking to sell at the time and couldn't because of the high service charges, I said, I think it's better if we all do it. And also, I wanted it to be a collective thing, like we all have a say in which managing agent we use. So I think it's better to have more than one. You only need one. But for continuity purposes, it is better to have more than one, I would say, because it also gives you. So I think when I've been speaking to people, it also gives you, it's not only the right to change managing agent, it also gives you a sort of say in what works are to be done and what contractors are to be used, for example. As long as you're not going against the terms of the lease or anything, you can sort of say, actually, we don't think this needs to be done right now, or we'd rather you use this local contractor because this is cheaper, or can you actually go back and have another look around? You have more of a say with your managing agent, and the right to manage company can actually hold the reserve fund if they wish, or the managing agent can hold it and you can have access to the account as set up in the right to manage company name. So you just have a lot more transparency and a lot more power in that sense, and a lot more control.
But you see, this has always been my problem with my housing association. I'm paying for a service that I'm not getting. I'm the customer in this. I have some consumer rights which I don't. But now you've got this management agent. You're the boss. You're in charge of them.
Yeah, exactly. So it gives you that right to be a director, and you appoint the managing agent. But before, it was, I mean, I tried reaching out to the freeholder and explaining like what the situation was and speaking to our legal team, but then ultimately it was us that were paying the service charges and receiving the poor service. And it was the managing agent's responsibility to maintain the building in accordance with the lease and safely. So that was sort of passed off. So it's difficult to get anywhere that way. But
so how long have you been maintaining your building now?
So we got the right to manage last September. The handover, the company that we've gone with, so the new managing agent, they're called XL Property, have been excellent, because the handover has been very painful for them from Firstport and Living City. I think Living City took over in April. I don't think they got the documentation needed from Firstport. It took us about 6 months, I think, to get the reserve fund. And Stuart, the owner, has been chasing and trying to sort things out with them. So he's done a really, really good job. And we finally got the reserve fund transferred across. But yeah, the handover it's been very difficult for the new managing agent. And I think that's another reason I'd say, if you can, to try and find a new managing agent, because the handover from a managing agent that wasn't doing their job properly is quite sticky.
Imagine my surprise. Do you think, again, is it incompetence, or do you think they were going, we don't want to give up, this is a nice little earner, we don't want to give this one up, let's drag our heels?
I think both. I think there was a lot of dragging the heels, and I think I noticed the more bad press that was coming out, the more Section 20 notices that were flying out.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not sure if it was a case of, okay, our days are looking a bit limited here. But I think genuinely both, because when the managing agent changed over, I had again, I really feel for them. I had new staff that had joined sort of the management company, and I was sat outside on my step trying to get a bit of sun on my lunch break, And I had a couple of people looking around, and I said, "Are you okay?" And they said, "We're just trying to get into the buildings to try and work out which properties we manage." I was like, I can tell you which ones I think they are, because obviously I knew which like buildings. It should be this one, this one, this one, and this one, because our block's got the right to manage, but it should be all of the other blocks aside one that had a residence management company in place. But yeah, again, I don't. They seem genuinely like they wanted to actually change things and make a difference, but were just left in this diabolical situation, not even knowing what blocks on the estate were under their management. And this was probably a couple of months ago, so a year after the handover.
So let's get down to the all crucial question, the filthy lucre. How much money have you saved every month?
So my service charges were up at, if I add on the Section 20 notices, let's work this out. So they've gone down to £144 a month now. They were probably up at nearly 300 if I include Section 20 notices.
Yeah.
But the actual just service charge alone was 2,450 a year, I think, and then the Section 20 notices on top of that. But yeah, my mum gets her new service charge bill this month, so she's just moved away from First Port as well. So I'm hoping that's going to save a lot of money for her. I'm sure it will.
Yeah. I've been thinking the only way out of this is service charge strikes. I know a lot of people are talking about and a lot of people are considering, but it's a very scary process and people are worried about being evicted, and rightfully so. I think you have tabled another solution, and I think it's empowering, and I think there are going to be lots of people that go, yeah, you know what, we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is the thing. Like, I'm hoping I can provide support to people. I'll help as many people as I can. I think I've had some messages coming through. People have been really kind and really understanding. I've said, look, I'm working, so I will get back to you. I've had quite a few messages coming in. So I'm open to try and help as many people as possible. Whether or not that's sort of doing the process for them, because I've tried to set up a company to enable me to do this. Or even just giving a bit of advice if they want to go and try and do it on their own, or that's entirely up to them. But yeah, I think it's reassuring to have someone to talk you through the process, because I think without that, it can be quite daunting. And like people say, you do feel like you're in this alone. Even just things like advice on how to get in touch with other owners, like things like that. It's like everything in life, isn't it? It's like once you make a start,
Yeah.
and the responses start coming through, you feel better and you're like, actually, yeah, I can do this. But I think having someone to guide you through it is really nice. So I'm hoping I can be that person for as many people as possible.
Well, look, I started my Green Square called Resident Support Site just to support residents and brought lots together. And the housing sector is about providing those solutions. So if you enable anyone could put together some question and answers or some how-to guides, happily put them up on the website to help people. Anything.
Yeah, I've actually got an FAQ guide already that I've made.
Would you be happy to share it on the housing sector website?
Yep, no problem at all. I've set up a website. It's called Needham RTM and Property Services. So it's on there, but yeah, I could send that over as well.
I'll get all the links in the comments field, and we'll do some links on the website so people can find you. Amber, I genuinely think there are going to be people. I mean, I'm in a block of 43, and I think I thought about it a while back. Someone mentioned, actually, it was my friend from Red Kite Housing, and she did exactly that. She set up Red Kite Housing because she, went her own way, did what you did, and became the CEO of a housing association. And I thought, oh, you know what? I don't know if I could do it all because I'm doing so much anyway.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I think we're all at that point, aren't we, all the time, where we're so at our limits with work, like family life admin, just adding on something else. But if it's reassuring, once it's done and you've appointed a managing agent, it's no work for me at all. In fact, it's less work because I'm not chasing first port, for example, every week trying to get a front door. So that stress is gone.
Amber, I try not to swear on the housing sector website and the podcast, but you are a fucking legend. There is no other words for it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you. I say to everyone, let's stay in contact. Let's see how it is, a few months down the line, how you're getting on. And we'll put some information together on the website that we can share, and things will be in the comments. Amber, thank you very much indeed.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure. It really has. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much.